Alrighty, greetings, good evening. Mark Dixon here in the Channel 3 First Alert Forecast Center with your Thursday evening First Alert Weather Extra Edition. Typically you see Mike Slafer. He is off today, so happy to be here in his place. In case you're not familiar, First Alert Weather Extras we do twice a day on weekdays, 8 o'clock in the morning, then 9:30 in the evening. Kind of giving you a longer form, in-depth look at what's happening in Connecticut weather-wise, and of course any bigger things on the horizon, for instance, like Tropical Storm Erin that is forecast to become our first hurricane of the season sometime in the next 24 hours. We'll have more on that coming up in just a moment. Today is Thursday, and on Thursday we get updates to the drought monitor. We haven't been showing it a lot lately because we haven't had any concerns on that front. So that's changed a little bit. So here is the comparison from last week when parts of Fairfield County and just a sliver of New London County was in the abnormally dry classification. As of this week, coastal Connecticut, a good chunk of southern and southeastern Connecticut, now also in that abnormally dry area. So it's been expanded to include more of Connecticut. And if you look to our east, Cape Cod, we've got moderate drought conditions there. So rain, something we could certainly use. And you may be wondering, why is northern Connecticut not under abnormally dry classification, whereas southern Connecticut is? Well, look at the numbers for the two primary climate reporting stations in our state. Hartford, and this is broken down by the month, so for August, and then since June 1st, that's meteorological summer, and then going back to the beginning of the year. So a little bit behind for the month for Hartford, but otherwise a surplus for the season and a surplus as well for the year. Totally different story underway in Bridgeport. So over 1.75 inches deficit for the month. That's just August to date for the first 2 weeks of the month. We're 14 days in. So looking back to the beginning of meteorological summer, over a 6.5 inch deficit, and then for the year over 10 inches. So that's why southern parts of the state are, under this classification. So we were tracking a couple of downpours earlier this evening. A lot of that has come to an end. There's one little shower right now over East Hartford. Otherwise, things have been pretty quiet. We had one or two move through northern Connecticut. Take you back here 6 hours ago, there was one, and there's the next one. There was another shower that developed over North Branford, went through East Haven, Branford, and then into the Sound before diminishing. Now, meanwhile, look up near Boston. That thunderstorm there at one point, severe thunderstorm warned, had the possibility of producing ping pong ball sized hail. So that storm has been drifting southward from southeastern parts of Massachusetts now into Rhode Island. So outside of a brief shower here, things are pretty quiet across Connecticut. And this activity all firing up along a cold front that's pushing through southern New England. So right now, as we expand the view elsewhere, not a whole lot happening. Very isolated in nature, this development. So here in the 9 o'clock hour, 80 Hartford, 84 Bridgeport, 82 New Haven. Elsewhere, we're in the mid-70s. So dew point values, recently they've been up in the 70, 75 degree range. But as you note here across northern, northwest Connecticut, we're coming down a bit into the 50s. So some drier air is beginning to arrive. And compared to this time last night, temperature-wise, we are up several degrees for many spots. So the wind certainly tells a big story here. Those arrows coming out of the north indicating with the passage of this front that drier air is beginning to move in. So tomorrow, a day that's still going to be warm, but will be more comfortable given the downturn in humidity. And then over the weekend, the third weekend of August, if you can believe it, we're going to go from warm weather on Saturday to hot weather on Sunday briefly. And also with that uptick in temperature, also a bit of an uptick in humidity. But again, it's brief for Sunday because we've got unseasonably cool weather on tap for next week. And then, of course, we're monitoring a tropical storm Erin. So here is the very latest. And at 11 o'clock tonight, so in about 90 minutes from now, we'll be getting an update on tropical storm Erin. We've actually seen a bit of an uptick in wind speed, actually, since the last update. Winds now to 70 miles an hour, indicating that it is strengthening, nearing hurricane strength. It is forecast to become a hurricane over the next 24 hours. And that is because from where the storm is now to where it is heading, it's going to make its way over some very warm water. So those warm sea surface temperatures in the mid 80s will allow the storm to intensify and to do so pretty quickly. So you can see a Category 1 within 24 hours, up to a Category 3 over the weekend, and then it begins turning away from the Bahamas as we head into early next week. So right now, the center of the storm is less than 750 miles from the northern Leeward Islands, and by the time it gets to the northern Leeward Islands, it's going to be a Cat 1 or Cat 2 hurricane. So we have tropical storm watches in effect there already. Should pass to the north of Puerto Rico, again making that turn to the north. So we have a couple scenarios here. If the this area of high pressure, where it's positioned, is farther west, that will dictate how the upper level wind flow will help steer Erin. So if this area of high pressure is farther to the west, the turn north would be later, which would not bode well for the East Coast. If we're to this area of high pressure be positioned farther to the east, then we would see that turn take place a bit sooner. So if that were to happen, then the center of the storm would go between the east coast of the U.S. and Bermuda. So kind of a better case scenario there. So with regard to Atlantic-facing coastline here in southern New England, we're still talking about the middle to end of next week. So about a week away before we'd be realizing any sort of wave action, any sort of rough seas, any sort of rip current concerns for Atlantic-facing coastline. And remember, here in Connecticut, we've got Long Island that blocks our shoreline from those direct impacts. Okay, so from Waterbury right now, 75 degrees there in the Brass City. It's a pretty comfortable evening, 80 right now in Hartford. It is warm, and there's our view from New Haven. And looking toward the Pearl Harbor Memorial Bridge, 82 with a southwest wind at 5 miles an hour. And from New London, currently 74. So the development today, very isolated in nature, all in association with this cold front that's moving through the region right now, and behind it, high pressure building in. But do note, looking northward, much drier air. Dew point values in the 50s. That's what we're going to feel here in Connecticut come tomorrow. So overnight tonight, under a clear sky, any lingering cloudiness should give way to a clear sky. Note those wind arrows coming in from the north. Eventually cooler air will be arriving next week, but what we're going to notice tomorrow is the downturn in humidity. So overnight, we bottom out in the 60s. Tomorrow for our Friday, mid and upper 80s inland, low and mid 80s along the 95 corridor. So plenty of sunshine. Also note that tomorrow, our last day with sunrise in the 5 o'clock hour at 5:59. Moving forward this weekend and points thereafter, as we continue to lose daylight, sunrise shifts into the 6 o'clock hour. So again, comfortably warm tomorrow, mid to upper 80s. And first alert futurecast, high pressure in control tomorrow, in control over the weekend. It's going to move offshore on Sunday. So it's going to allow this next cold front to approach early Sunday morning through the Great Lakes. So as that arrives later in the day, we could see maybe a late day isolated shower. But the daylight hours of both Saturday and Sunday right now looking dry. But by Sunday afternoon, in advance of that cold front, humidity is going to be ticking up. Temperatures will be hotter, up near 90. So heat index values between 90 and 95 degrees. So initially we have a drop in dew point for tomorrow. Then it creeps back up by Sunday. And that next drop on Sunday night is relative to the cold front, the second one that's going to be moving through. So tomorrow's going to be less humid. Saturday, if you do have weekend plans, overall the weather really cooperates. Mid 80s on Saturday. And then about 5 degrees warmer on Sunday and also a bit muggier. And again, a late day isolated shower. We're saying toward and past sunset with the arrival of that cold front. And then highs on Monday behind that front near 80, upper 70s on Tuesday. Overnight lows by then will be in the 50s. And by Wednesday, we've got a little disturbance that's going to move through that could generate some showers. We need a nice soaking rain. Unfortunately, this next round of rain does not look too meaningful as of now. And then Thursday, increasing sunshine with temperatures back to 80, if not higher. So this season so far, even as of today, we added to our 90-degree tally. So 3 days this month, a total of 21 days. On an annual basis, we average 20. So right now, we're basically at or just above what we typically see on average for the Hartford area when it comes to 90-degree days. So we do have one more 90-degree day that we'll add to that tally on Sunday, and then we will trend less humid and much cooler through the middle of next week. All right, so we'll have much more, including today's top news headlines over ahead on the Wax at 10 o'clock, and then, of course, for Channel 3 Eyewitness News at 11. So again, first alert weather extras happen on weekdays, 8 o'clock in the morning, streaming here on WFSB Plus. And then the evening edition happens at 9:30, again, Monday through Friday. All right, that is the latest from the First Alert Forecast Center. Have a great night.